Okay, so um, if you are a watcher of Elsa's streams, maybe you're not a watcher of my streams. Well, as a bird, I am a bird enthusiast. A little bit of an ornithologist, much like humans can be anthropologists, I guess. Yeah, it works. So every time I stream, I do a bird of the day. Every stream, new bird of the day. And so I asked Els, it's like, hey, you should pick the bird of the day. And you know what Els did? She said, I picked the red-tailed hawk. And I said, Els, I've already done the red-tailed hawk.
It
And
is my
she's like,
favorite.
oh, how about the golden finch? And I say, Els, I've already done the golden finch. And then I say, well, Els, what else would you want? And she said, how about the osprey? And I said, yeah, we're doing the osprey!
Yeah!
Woo! All right, you can go next
Three
slide.
very cool birds. The
Yes.
osprey is not the
osprey,
best, but
honestly,
wonderful.
I got things for ospreys. Ospreys are my favorite bird of prey. I'm surprised I haven't done them yet. And when I was in elementary school, there was a class project where we had to draw our own original comic strips. And I made a comic strip called Ollie the Osprey.
Oh, that's so cute.
And the thing is I liked making it so much, I ended up making a whole bunch more well beyond the class assignment. And I'm sure that they're all lost to time. They're gone. They're gone forever. But
no, I was gonna say you should show it.
And I'm sure that if I read them now, they would be absolutely terrible because they were written by a sixth grader. But I wouldn't mind seeing them. But yeah, I'm sure the art was terrible. I'm sure there weren't jokes. But you know what? Ollie Osprey still lives on in my heart.
The best part of those assignments you do as a kid is that, though, looking back on it, like, oh, how much progress I've made.
Yeah. Well, maybe there should be an Ollie the Osprey revival.
Yeah, do an art stream.
Yeah.
Do it on stream. Write it on stream.
Yeah, she had a whole group of friends. She was friends with an eagle. There was an owl. There was a peregrine falcon. There was a wolf. There's a whole series of friends.
Sounds like you like predators
species.
a lot.
Yeah, it was a predator species. Now I think about it.
Understandable. They're very cool.
Of course, that was before I, had the fondness for other crows. Anyway, let's move on to the next slide. Let's some basic information about the osprey. So size-wise, 19 to 26 inches long with a 50 to 71 inch wingspan and about 2 to 4.5 pounds. So, as far as birds go, pretty big. Not the biggest bird, but they're a lot bigger than most birds. But as far as birds of prey go, they're kind of on the medium size of it. So bigger than most falcons, smaller than most eagles. It's pretty good. Oh, thanks for the follow.
Is that one of mine?
No, it's not mine. With Saber Mage. Saber Mage followed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for checking out.
All right. So as is typical with birds of prey, almost every bird of prey you're going to find those big birds. The females are going to be a bit bigger than the males. With ospreys, it's only a little bit, so not quite as pronounced as some of the other bird of prey species, but about 15 to 20 year lifespan, so not too bad. Pretty good for a bird of prey. Pretty average. The oldest tagged whenever was 25 years old. Yes. But one thing that I do think is interesting about the osprey is that they are the second most widespread bird of prey in the world. So you see that map down there?
Oh.
All those blue areas is where you can find them. And there's only two. So they are in the order of Cipitiformes, which is more easily just saying they're in the hawk family. But the hawk order. But then the family, the Panido is that is just ospreys, and there are two species in that family. There's the western osprey and the eastern osprey. The eastern osprey you're only basically gonna find in the Oceania areas, so like your Papua New Guinea's, Indonesian areas. That's the only place you're gonna find them. The western osprey, yeah, you're gonna find pretty much everywhere. And if you kind of look at those that map there, it's like, okay, so they're basically everywhere that's not a desert or a tundra.
They're quite versatile then.
Yeah, they're pretty much all around. They like to be around water because they are, well, as we're going to go onto this next slide, as they're commonly known, the osprey is also referred to as the seahawk.
Oh,
So if you
I
ever
didn't
heard a
know
bird
that.
called a seahawk, they're referring to an osprey.
How interesting.
And their diet almost entirely fish. They are fishing birds.
I was gonna ask if they like the sea. Do they like fishies?
They do like the fishies. They
Mhm.
are specifically adapted to catch fish, and the way that they hunt fish is actually, I think, the most interesting thing about them. Now, they can, if fishing is bad and they're really hungry and they got to do it, they will eat small rodents and stuff. So they'll catch
I
a rabbit or a
see.
mouse, but it's not their preferred. It's they've been seen eating those, but it's more like, oh, it's because there's no fish to catch and they're hungry.
Mhm.
So they physiologically they are very well adapted for catching fish. So most taloned birds of prey, most other hawks, they're going to have 3 claws on the front and 1 claw on the back on their talons.
Mhm.
Um, their innermost talons, though, on the osprey, can bend so far backwards that it becomes 2 in front and 2 in the back, and this allows
Oh,
them a
wow.
much better grip on a fish. But not only that, the pads of their talons have little spiny barbs on them that are really good for gripping onto wet scales of fish. So they can get a much better grip on a fish than any other bird of prey. They're like even better than eagles and stuff. They're super suited for it. Uh, but what also is that they have an oil on their feathers, which is not too dissimilar from that on a duck, that allows them
Oh,
to get really wet and then take flight again and have all that water just slide right off them. So if you
that
get
is really interesting.
if you get an osprey wet, it's the water is just gonna slide right off those feathers, and they can hit the air and they'll be almost completely dry a couple seconds after getting out of the water. Because when they dive down, they will completely submerge themselves, which another thing that helps them is that they close their beak completely. Well, they also have another little skin membrane that they can use to close the nostrils on their beak so that they don't get water up their nose.
That's so many different, adaptations for that kind of hunting behavior. The
Yeah.
thing about the waterproof, feathers in particular, well, given it's an oil, I would guess probably not, but it makes me wonder if there were ever any attempts to use their feathers for, like, waterproof garments in history. Given
Um.
it's oil, probably not, huh?
I wouldn't be surprised. Use their feathers on. Although I don't think it works as well because part of that oil is something that is like consistently being secreted from their
Right.
skin. So I
Yeah.
don't think that they would retain that oil after
Yeah.
the feather is separated from the bird. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it'd be interesting to know because yeah, I don't think people use duck feathers for that either. But
I hadn't heard of that either, so I figured probably not,
yeah,
but it just popped in my head.
hmm yeah, it's really cool the way they go hunting. It's like they'll circle around about 100 feet in the air, really, really good eyesight. They'll see a
Right.
fish and they'll dive down, and they've adapted to even understand water refraction to know that where they see the fish and necessarily where the fish is. And
Oh,
then
wow,
they
that's super interesting.
they hit the water feet first and grab a fish, and they've been found to be the most successful fish hunter of any bird species with a chance of a dive. They found that ospreys get a fish about 70% of the time, which is like crazy good.
Right.
Yeah. Um
That makes you wonder when they have to go for rodents, what happened?
yeah, they expect the rodent to be in a different spot and they flat hit the ground. Not quite adapted for it. But yeah, they are very nomadic birds. They will travel around quite a bit. In a year, they found that like a certain osprey can travel up to 15,000 miles in a single year.
Whoa.
But here's the interesting thing: when it's time to have a nest of babies, they come back to the same spot.
Birds are quite good at that. They have such a good memory for those kind of, migratory patterns.
Oh yeah, it's quite impressive. And when they come back, they will typically mate for life. So usually they'll find a mate in their first or second year, and they'll stick with that. They'll stick with that mate until one of them dies. Now it's not always the
Wow.
case, but typically they'll mate for life. And though they keep one nest per pair, they do tend to build their nests nearby other ospreys. So they have kind of little colonies. So it's not as pure of a flocking behavior as you'll get with a lot of other birds, but it's still kind of a hey, we got neighbors and we're gonna hang out our neighbors and
Mhm.
and they generally get along pretty good with each other. They don't get super territorial with other ospreys, although they will get territorial with other animals. They gotta protect their babies,
Of course.
because there are owls and eagles out there who might want to snag a little osprey baby.
How could they? They're
Birds
so
of prey,
cute.
birds of prey are pretty mean to each other. It's yeah, yeah. You're surprised, like, oh, they're called the Seahawks. So it's like, yep, there's an NFL team called the Seahawks,
What an honor.
and
What an
they
honor for the
they
noble Osprey.
they are referred to as the Seahawks, but it is an osprey. Then there's also a European soccer team that's called the Ospreys. And then there's a few college mascots called the Osprey. So they've got some cultural significance. Not at they're not as like culturally visible as, say, like eagles or falcons or owls, but I think they
Mhm.
should be, because I think ospreys are pretty darn neat.
They are very cool, and, despite liking Osprey and having seen the Seahawks logo so many times, I never made the connection, so
Well,
I think that there should be more knowledge about
what
that.
kind of bird did you think a seahawk was?
I don't know. I never thought about it. I thought maybe it was their creation.
Well, and that's the thing, is that, I mean, an osprey is a hawk. It's it's
Right,
it's in the hawk order.
and
Um,
they hunt in the sea.
yeah. But I mean, like, they're in a different family than your red-tailed hawks and a
Yeah,
lot of your other types of hawks. So they got some
right.
differences. So I mean, I guess the difference between an osprey and a red-tailed hawk would be like the difference between a crow and a cardinal. Both passiforms, but
Mhm.
different families. But yeah, they're super neat. And like I said, in the family that the ospreys are in, there's only two species that are in that entire family. So it's not a big family of birds. Not like corvids that have like 200 species. Yeah.
That just means
Taxonomy
Osprey
is
are very special.
I'm probably more interested in taxonomy than that. Well, I think taxonomy is interesting. How things are broken
I
down.
found it very interesting when I studied it, but I can't say a lot of my classmates felt the same thing.
Mhm. Oh, and last little bullet point there. It's not state bird, because Scotia is a province, but the provincial
Mhm.
bird of Nova Scotia. So
Same difference.
I
The
think
bird of the place.
I do think that Washington should make it the state bird, but
Isn't isn't
not.
Washington's I think when I was Googling the goldfinch, I think it's a goldfinch, is it not?
It could be.
I think it
It is
is.
a goldfinch.
Oh,
Oh
how
yeah, I
interesting.
think I remember. Yeah, oh yeah, I think I remember when I did the American goldfinch. It was like, oh, by the way, the goldfinch is the state bird of like
Yeah.
6 different states.
Wait, seriously? Oh, well, I mean, it's all over the place, so it kinda makes sense. I thought there would be a rule that the birds are, like, monopolized per state,
I
but I guess
know,
not.
right? I think that the state bird that is most common is the cardinal. There's 9 states that have the
Oh,
cardinal. It's
that's
ridiculous.
funny. Well, cardinal is such a beautiful bird, how could it not be that popular?
Yeah, well, and I mean, it's not like the states really communicate with each other too much. Okay, so the goldfinch is Iowa, New Jersey, and Washington. So 3 states.
Okay, not as many as I thought, but it's still a lot.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, New Jersey. Come on, you don't get the goldfinch. I almost think I let Iowa have that one. Let's let Iowa have that one.
True. They need
Um,
something.
but you know what? Looking at the list of state birds right now, and you know what I'm not seeing anywhere? You know what I'm seeing anywhere? Single
I
fuck
have a guess.
a single fucking corvid.
That is for
Not
shame.
not even a blue jay. This is
Not a blue excuse me, blue jays are some of the
I
prettiest. I combined pretty and cute into cute.
well, that's the thing, is that blue jays are very beautiful, but they're also assholes. So
True, true. I had an
uh
aggressive territorial blue jay in my backyard as a child. I loved it. It didn't love me.
all right. Well, final slide. Corvus and Nell's stats on oh, this picture reminds me of one thing. When they're carrying fish in the air, they will reorient the fish so the fish is facing forward, because that makes the fish more aerodynamic and thus easier to fly with.
I love that. I love this photo too. It's amazing.
The new Cannon Fodder posted mine, the New Jersey state bird, and then it's a hand giving the finger. That's
True.
good. That's good.
Show them the bird,
I, I
the
think
state
I think
bird.
New Jersey should make the Jersey Devil their state bird. Got wings.
True.
So.
True, very true.
Oh, so once I run out of real birds to do, I'm gonna start doing fictional birds as part of the day.
Oh, that's fun, and you could probably
Mhm.
find a VTuber to represent each fictional, like, mythological bird.
Probably. But yeah, Osprey. I'm gonna give Osprey pretty high marks. They are, like I said, they're my favorite bird of prey. They're great. I love their hunting style. I think they're very pretty birds,
Mhm.
majestic, top tier
I
bird.
have to be in agreement.
Okay, I keep saying
Very
top tier birds when I'm not talking about corvids. When I say top tier bird and it's not a corvid, I mean tier immediately below corvids.
I thought that was implied. There's,
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
have,
it's
like, the
implied.
god tier, and then you have, like, the top tier.
Yeah,
Of
yeah,
course, corvids are up there.
yeah. So yeah, and I mean, obviously you picked the osprey. Do you have anything you'd like to say about the osprey?
I love them. I think they're very cool. I believe that I have seen them hunting before. I would say they're my, unfortunately, second favorite bird of prey, if only because I have quite the emotional attachment to red-tailed hawks, but I like them a lot. I think this picture of one carrying a fish is particularly charming, and if I ever get to see this action in real life at any moment in my life, I will consider myself capable of dying happy.
Yeah. Well, you know what's kind of black humor about this picture?
Hmm.
That fish is probably still alive.
I was gonna say, those eyes have a little bit of a twinkle in them.
Yeah.
It's very good, though. Well,
Uh
I mean, the photo, not the perhaps not the fate of the bird or the fish.
hey, that's nature. That's nature, you know.
He gets to go for a little fly. One last hurrah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, one fact that I do remember about the goldfinch is if you don't like the idea of hunting, goldfinches are one of the few species of bird that's almost entirely vegetarian.
Are they?
Yeah.
Goldfinches are? Oh,
Goldfinches
wow.
goldfinches will very, very rarely eat insects.
Oh, wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Most little passiforms like that are eat seeds and insects, but the goldfinch
Mm,
don't like insects.
that's
Whereas,
neat.
yeah, ospreys completely carnivorous and you know pretty much entirely pescatarian.
Mhm. Hello, by the way, Aiko. Hello.
All right, well,
I
I think that's enough for bird of the day, so we